All right, hey, Jeff here. Let's do this. I want to explain what I'm doing here. Everybody does these top 20s and they do the yearly reviews and things along that line. Mine is going to probably be a little different than what most people do. Mainly because I'm trying to keep it to where it's not so brain numbingly difficult to try to figure out a top 20 anything. So I've limited myself in ways that most people may not do. So this is my top 20 purchased 2020 vinyl countdown. So what that means is these are albums on vinyl that I purchased, no CDs. They are only ones that have been released in 2020, but they have to be new music releases of 2020. So there's no live albums, there's no reissues, there's no compilations or best of or anything like that. I am thinking and working on compiling a top 20, maybe even more because I've got a lot more, but like top 20 reissues of 2020 that I purchased. Now that I purchased, that means that there's probably a lot of great albums out there that I have digitally or in other formats that are going to not be here because I haven't purchased them in a physical product and I haven't purchased them on vinyl. So some of the ones that I looked at that I've been listening to frequently that I really enjoy that one day I probably will get the vinyl for are bands like, the New Hex or the New House of Lords, band called Messenger that I really enjoyed their release. The Metal Church from the Vault, that's a really good, even though that's more of a compilation. It's a lot of good unreleased tracks. Shining Black. The Testament album. I've been listening to that all along. Titans, that one. The new Deep Purple album. War Kings, Revenge. There's a lot of these bands that are power metal bands and stuff that I just haven't purchased yet. The new Gravedigger Fields of Blood. The new Udo album or Udio. The new Armored Saint. Lords of Black. Fate's Warning. There's a ton of stuff out there that I have in one way or another been listening to or have the digital tracks in my possession, but these are strictly limited to 20 vinyl records that I purchased that have 2020 music on them. I did look back to see as far as trying to limit out the CDs, and here's what I did. I broke down what I did, and I'm sorry for all this talking before I'm showing. I actually, when it comes to just mainstream, I kind of broke these down in my mind, mainstream non-Christian related music. I purchased 10 CDs, 10 CDs in 2020, and 5 of them I already have on vinyl, so they're here. They're going to be in this, considered in this list. 4 of them are new releases, but only on CDs, so they didn't make this. And then when it comes to like the Christian music, I purchased 35 Christian-related CDs, Christian rock-related CDs. A lot of those are reissues. A lot of those are they keep reissuing classic stuff. 7 of them I also have on vinyl. So they're calculated here, and there's only 6 other ones that are actually new releases and that are not actually just reissues. So really, when you combine them all together, I purchased about 45 CDs in 2020. 12 of them I have on vinyl also, and only 10 of them are actually new music. So that's how that goes. So getting past that, let's look at 2020. Now, this is the other thing. When I did this and when I limited this down to 2020 new music by, releases on vinyl, I literally only have 20. So I get to include them all. I did have to actually squeeze that out. There was when I started disqualifying some, like the live albums and stuff, I got down to 20. So the last 2 are actually fairly new, and they count because while they're not new music, they are new versions of the music. And again, I'm stretching it here on my own rules. And that's the 2 Whitesnake releases, 19 and 20. I'm counting because they are, new versions, new remixes. And, so this one I'm going to say is 19. This one I'm going to say is 20 just because this is rockier. So those round out the list at number 20 and 19. Number 18, BPMD. So this is the album of cover songs by Mike Portnoy, Bobby Blitz, and those fellas. This is the it's all cover music. Now, it's a great album. Yeah, Bobby Blitz, Mike Portnoy, Mark Minghai, and Phil Demmel. It's a good album. The reason it ranks kind of low is it's a covers album, so that, but they do great covers. But they also, at times, it's a little more crass and crude. And in some points, it's almost kind of in a childish way. It doesn't come across anyway. So it's not an album that I'm probably going to find myself spinning a lot. So that's what put it down a little lower. Now, this is actually, hey, Jeff, how can you put an album that you just got in this week? Haunt Mind Freeze. Now, I'm going to tell you, I have been listening to them for a while. I do have them digitally. This is actually the first time I purchased them. And I don't know if it's just me. Maybe I'm weird. But I've listened to both of the albums that I purchased that just came in the past few days. The vinyl releases on my record player at decent volume. And it's different than what I do digitally. It's just, it could be, that weird effect. But all of a sudden I'm like, hey, these guys are better than I gave them credit for listening to them digitally. And so I don't know. Maybe it's the vinyl feel or what. Maybe it's just the volume. Maybe it's a different system. But I like it. If Icarus Could Fly, great album. This one I've listened to. Also, it's a great album too. So they are in my top 20, A, because I only have 20, but B, because, I'm starting to like these, and I'm going to have to track down some of their stuff. But they are still kind of low because I am still a little new to them, and they may move up if you ask me in a week or two. Number 16 is the Thor album from this year, Rising. Now, everybody knows I love Thor, and Thor, I buy everything they do, but, he ranks a little low because there's just 16, 15 more albums that I think are a little better. But he's in my top 20. I love his stuff. This was a great album. It's one of his better albums all of his albums recently been great, but this is actually one that's better. It has a couple weak spots, but, every album tends to. So, I've really enjoyed this album. So that is number 16. Number 15, Bloody Times on a Mission. Again, this is one that I got not too long ago. It's an import. If you don't know about this band, check them out. It's got a bunch of different people. Ross Abbas, from formerly of Manowar, he plays on a song. The singer that sang on one of the Iced Earth albums back in the day is on here, and it's got a bunch of other musicians. And it's just great, solid, heavy metal. Kind of at times feels a little like a new wave of heavy metal, but, it's more or less just like a hard rock and metal stuff. So, really dig this. And up for number 14, and this is only a half of an album, basically, an EP, the new Collective Soul Half and Half. I like Collective Soul. I know not all metalheads do. I like them. This is the new 2020, the newest thing from 2020. And so, I really enjoy it. It's 2 cover tunes and 2 original tunes, and I really appreciate it. Looking forward to a new album. So it ranks a little lower, mainly because it is, just an EP and it's a couple cover tunes. Number 13 is Declaration by Red. This is probably some of the more modern hard rock and metal that I listen to, and not some traditional metal band that's putting out albums or, in that vein. So this is a more modern, I don't want to call it new metal. Most people wouldn't even call it metal. It's just hard rock. But, he's got the little screamy stuff in there. I really dig Red, have loved them for years. They've been around for more than a decade, I know. Anyway, if you don't know who Red are, check them out. They would fall into the category of Christian hard rock, but I don't find their lyrics to be preachy. They're just great, interesting type stories in their music, and just heavy stuff. At number 12, we've got Morse, Portnoy, and George, cover to cover, technically cover to cover 3. See, it's the 3's in the cover. It is their 3rd cover to cover album. And it's cover tunes, but it's Neil Morse, it's Mike Portnoy, it's Randy George. They do great renditions of a lot of classic songs, and I love everything these guys touch. So it's going to be in my countdown, and it's great. It's, 2 albums full of great classic rock type cover tunes. So if you're not familiar with them, check them out. Great musicianship, just all around great stuff. Number 11, Kennedy. This is Carl Kennedy's band, and it's I think it's his 2nd release under this name. It turns out they did have another album a few years ago under this. It's not on vinyl. I'd probably grab it, but I do have it digitally. Carl Kennedy is the drummer, was in the Rods. He's done a lot of production of a lot of great bands over the years. This is him and some friends basically just, hey, let's record an album, and it is just solid pumping metal from a bunch of old guys like me. But yeah, it's just they're great, solid, rockin' heavy metal. I love it. It's just a great sound. All right, now we get into the top 10. And again, these rankings could change. This is kind of how I feel at this time. And basically, when I'm looking at them, I look at how much I've listened to them, how much listenability they're going to have in the continued future. And, some of them are newer, some of them are older, so maybe the older ones have lost that feeling. But, if I pull them back out and listen to them, they might rank higher. I don't know. But let's start off number 10. We got the newest from Ozzy. I thought it was a solid record. I thought it was a great, I'll say, kind of a comeback. He sounds great, but overall, it's a really solid metal release. I thought it was a really impressive return for a new Ozzy record. So yeah, number 10, the new Ozzy. Number 9, we got the new AC/DC. Yes, it is fairly new. Yes, I am still getting used to it. I think it's a solid effort. I think, yes, there's not as much energy as early AC/DC, but what do you expect from guys at their age? But over the past couple albums, I think it ranks up there as one of the really good ones over the past few years. Not to say that any of the past few albums have been bad either. Rock or Bust, I really, really like that. Black Ice, I haven't had as much getting into that, but this album has been great. Listening to it, it's like, wow, it's great to hear them back. They sound strong. They sound great. Love it. At number 9. At number 8, we have Origins 2 by Ace Frehley. Yes, it's another covers album. But, yes, it's Ace Frehley. But I still like it. It is great. I think it's actually, in some ways, better than Origins 1. I don't know. It could be the song choice. I really got into it. I really love it. I like listening to it. And I appreciate what's going on and what he's doing to pay homage to some of these great bands. And it's great to hear the way that he does some of these songs. So, yes, Ace Frehley, Origins 2. Number 7 is the return of Tyrant with Hereafter. Tyrant had some albums out in the 80s. They kind of disappeared, and then they come back with a new singer, and it's just solid metal at times, bordering. They've always been kind of in a doom feel. Not so much here. It's more straightforward metal. The new singer, has a slightly different style, but it's Tyrant. It's Tyrant all the way, and I've enjoyed their old stuff. I'm glad that all their stuff has been reissued on vinyl. They all look the same label and everything, and so I really appreciate the consistency of them for all of the 4 albums that they've got. So yes, Tyrant. Coming in at number 6 is a band that I just discovered, but I have had a great time listening to them. I have tracked down their second album. I have in the process tracked down their first album from overseas, and it is in the mail somewhere stuck. I don't know if it's going to get here before the end of the year. It's been out there, but that's Vanik. This is Vanik 3. Now, if you go back, I discovered this band from the Metalhead box, which I've only received one of because my second November Metalhead box is also stuck in the mail somewhere. It appears to be maybe either in Indiana or New Jersey, depending on what tracking system I look at. So, I don't know what's going to be in there. But this was the first Metalhead box I got. This was in there, and I fell in love with it. It was great stuff. Horror metal, kind of thrashy at times, kind of punky at times. Just, great, fun metal with the horror theme. Vanik. If you're not familiar with them, check them out. So they come in at number 6. Now, number 5. Jeff, how can it be? You just got this the other day. Ravens, Metal City. Yes, I just received the vinyl the other day after waiting for it from Amazon for October, November, over 3 months. But I did get it when it came out on digital format, and I have been listening to it consistently since then, and I think it is a great Raven album. I pretty much appreciate most everything Raven's done. Some albums I really love. They've got a lot of solid releases. This, to me, is a great release. And it could just be, they got a new drummer. It's a new breath of fresh air. It's a different sound. He's very technical, and it's just, it brings them to new life. And this has been a really solid album. Even the live album that they did before this with the new drummer, I was just impressed on how it changes the sound. Because, us drummers, they make or break the band. So anyway, nothing against any previous drummers, but it's just a new, fresh sound, and I think it really brought new life to Raven, and this new release proves it. Number 4 is 2020 by Sons of Apollo. I mentioned this when it came out. I love it. If you're not familiar with Sons of Apollo, kind of a super group. Mike Portnoy on drums, Billy Sheehan on bass, Jeff Scott Soto on vocals, Derek Trinian on keyboards. It's just a lot of popular guys from other bands who have gotten together and have put out some great stuff. This is their second album. And it's kind of a side project for the bands, for the guys, because they all have different bands. As a matter of fact, Jeff Scott Soto just put out a new album this year, his solo album. So another one that I don't have. Not sure if I'll buy it on vinyl, but I do have it digitally. So there's just a lot of great stuff. All these guys are very active in other bands, and this is just an album they put out earlier in the year, 2020, and it's a great, what do you want to call it? It's kind of proggish, but not really, because you've got people like Derek and Mike in there, but it's more straightforward. Not really power metal, maybe more of a symphonic metal. I don't know. It's just great stuff. Lots and lots and lots of great musical ability going through here. Very melodic and metal. Number 3 is Third Degree, the third album from Flying Colors. Flying Colors, yet another super group. Again, Mike Portnoy. We also have Neil Morse. We have Steve Morse of Dixie Dregs, Deep Purple fame. It's just another one of those very, it's more of a rock, hard rock, melodic rock, very much harmonies throughout, very influenced by, the Beatlesque type sound, but nothing sounding like that. Just, the harmonies, they're big into that kind of multiple harmony stuff. I've talked about them quite often. They appear in a lot of my favorite types of videos. You just should check them out. It's just great stuff, fun stuff. Amazing musicianship all the time. Great stuff. Third Degree by Flying Colors. Coming in at number 2, Even the Devil Believes by Stryper. Of course, they're going to be ranking high. Big Stryper fan since the 80s. Love this album. They come back with a punch every time. These guys keep getting better and better and better with every release. On the other hand, you might listen to the past few releases and say they've stayed consistent, and they have. I think that they consistently put out great material. It's just a breath of fresh air every time to hear new material, and looking forward to other new material. But this is a great album, and I'm glad to have this at number 2. All right, anybody who's watched me for any length of time probably can guess who's going to be related in my number 1, and that would be Neil Morse. His solo album from this year, Sola Gratia. It is a rock opera / concept album about Paul the Apostle. And it is a story, not so much preachy, so if you're not into religious Christian music, you still can enjoy this. Very proggy. It's got Mike Portnoy on drums. It's got Randy George on bass. It's got amazing, amazing musicianship. A lot of the same guys that do the Neil Morse band, amazing prog stuff, are on here. So it has pretty much the same sound. It's only listed pretty much as a Neil Morse solo album because he wrote it all. And it's the story that he wrote, and he demoed it out, and then the band plays it. So the same musicianship, top notch, just not labeled as a band effort. Again, not preachy. It's just a Bible story about Paul, about his struggle as a Jew, about fighting against this new sect they call Christians, and trying to put down this teaching of this guy, this heretic Jesus that they seem to follow, and why can't he beat them, and his struggle doing that. It's all about Saul, who later became Paul the Apostle. It's a story about him, and it's just great. It's a great story. It's got all kinds of musical styles all through it, proggy at times, lots and lots of harmonies. I can't encourage you enough to check him out if you're into not so heavy metal music. If you can dig some of the stuff that is a lot more melodic or but still hard rocking throughout. Great stuff. Number 1, Neil Morse. That is it. Those are literally the top 20, the only 20 vinyl albums that I bought from bands with 2020 releases. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you next time. Rock on.